Hello, and welcome back to Tierlist Tuesday. Today, I'll be talking about Shonen anime. What is the best? What is the worst? And, yeah, it should be fun. I don't know I guess if you've seen my streams or my other videos, I don't talk about anime a ton. And I wouldn't consider myself a super fiend. Like, I don't really watch that many series. But I have seen quite a few, and I at least have heard of many. At least a majority of the ones that are, like, popular, right? I'm sure there are, several 100,000 obscure series that I have never heard of before. But, yep, here's the list. It is by Crocodile04, and I ended up adding this row down here, never seen, because there are some on here that I have not seen. But yeah, let's go ahead and just get right on into it. I think I've seen at least half of these, so should be a great list, right? Alright, starting with Attack on Titan. Now, alright, I mean, we're just going to be starting with the best one. I think I'm just going to throw that out there immediately. Attack on Titan is easily one of the best shows I've ever seen. And to clarify, I actually haven't seen too much of Season 4. I watched Season 1, around when it came out. Same with Season 2. Actually, no. Now that I think about it, I think I might have watched Season 2 a few months after it finished. I think I watched like a couple episodes and then I just took a break. I know a lot of people thought Season 2 was slower or worse than Season 1. Definitely not true. I think all of the seasons progressively get better through Season 3. I can't speak to Season 4 because I haven't seen it. Again, not necessarily a case of like this is, I was bored or whatever. Like, I think I watched episode 4, which is, the big cliffhanger episode where, spoiler alert, minor spoilers, I guess, Eren, bursts into his Titan form. Yeah, I don't know. I'll probably get around to watching it eventually. I know they're making, the final actual part. The thing is, I basically know what happens because I've read the ending of the manga, so there's a little bit less anticipation there for me, but I'm interested to see how they've adapted it. Now, all that being said, Attack on Titan, like I said, easily one of the best shows I've seen, right? I think Season 3 Part 2 is, a masterpiece in storytelling and animation and all that. And I wouldn't really call Attack on Titan a shonen anime. It's definitely more of a seinen, but it's on the list, so I've got to rate it, and I rate it S tier. Now I got Black Clover. I've never seen it. I know some people... It's still ongoing, isn't it? Shonen these days... I don't know, man. Like, they need to stop making series that are 10,000 episodes and 10,000 chapters. Just, like, keep it simple, right? Write a good story and then stop, okay? But I know a lot of people say that, like, the first few seasons of Black Clover are mid to mediocre, but the later seasons end up getting pretty good. So it's one that I have looked at and it's like, that could be interesting to watch, but then I realize, in the time that I've watched Black Clover, I could watch 10 other series, and I just don't think it's worth it at this point for me. I'm just not invested in it, so yeah, I don't know, we'll see. It's on my radar of stuff that I could watch, and it definitely has a cultural impact there, but it's just so long. Speaking of long series, Bleach. Now, this is going to be controversial. I know there's some other series on this list, but if you were watching anime around the early 2000s, or like early 2010s, you would be familiar with the Big Four anime at that time. And people kind of like try to bring up this concept, and they tried to apply it to the later era of like Attack on Titan, My Hero Academia, and then I don't remember what the other two big shonen were supposed to be. But, back then it was Bleach, Naruto, Dragon Ball, and One Piece. And I've actually seen all three of those to a certain extent. Dragon Ball Z, much less, and One Piece I've only watched... Yeah, I was about to say I've only watched half of it, but half of it is 500 episodes, so I've seen a lot of it, alright? It was one of my first shows that I really binge-watched, was One Piece, but I just ended up dropping it, I think because I may have gotten caught up to what the anime was at the time. It's hard for me to remember because it was so long ago, but of those four, Bleach is my favorite series in general. Not necessarily the anime, because I haven't watched all of the anime. I was watching Bleach and One Piece around the same time, and I watched Bleach up to around episode like 100 and something. And I know there's like 200 something episodes, maybe 300, and so I haven't seen all of them, but I have read the manga up until the Thousand Year Blood War, which is the newest season, and I watched the Thousand Year Blood War anime. And look, I know a lot of this is nostalgia talking, but I just think Bleach is super solid, like, especially after reading the manga and watching the newest anime and, you know, watching the Soul Society arc. It's just so good. Like I said, it's really nostalgic, but I think it's solid on its own, and I don't think that it has aged poorly. You know, it definitely has that early 2000s vibe of just being really slow, which is unfortunate because that's just how shows were back then. You know, things were drawn out and there were filler episodes because they were doing weekly releases, as opposed to nowadays it's like you actually have seasons, proper seasons. But it's still just a fun show to go watch. You know, a lot of people I think would agree that Soul Society arc is 8, 9 out of 10 maybe anime. Past that, I think a big reason why the quality starts to drop is because of that shonenism. But I mean, Thousand Year Blood War is just so good. It's hard for me not to put it in A tier. I don't think it deserves S, but putting it in B would hurt me too much, so I'll leave it in A. Blue Exorcist. I've actually seen the first couple episodes. Another one of those shows that was on my radar, but after I started watching it, I learned that the anime never finished, and just not something that I'm really interested in. I don't like watching shows that I know aren't going to get finished. You know what I mean? Because it's just a time investment into something that I feel like is not gonna give me a payoff. And so, technically I haven't really seen it, but I'm gonna give it a C, because even like the stuff that I saw, I only watched like the first 2 or 3 episodes. It's barely anything, but it just didn't impress me that much personally. So I'll give it a C. No hate. Okay, I'm sure it's fine, but it's definitely a turnoff for me when a show isn't going to, I guess, finish its actual serialization, right? Boruto, never seen it. I have no interest in it. I've heard bad things. I've heard mediocre things. If you liked Naruto, I'm sure Boruto is fine, but well, we're gonna talk about how I feel about Naruto later. Dragon Ball. I think this is Dragon Ball Z, right? I don't see any other series on here, so I'm gonna assume this is Z, or just maybe the Dragon Ball franchise in general. I haven't seen Super. I haven't seen Dragon Ball. I haven't seen Dragon Ball GT. I have seen some of Z, and I know in general about Dragon Ball and that whole formula. I've just never been impressed with... Oh wait, this is Dragon Ball Z. This might be Super then. So I've never seen Super. Super, I'm sure... Yeah, this does look like Super, doesn't it? It has a more modern feel, and I think that's Beerus in the background. Super... If you like Dragon Ball, I'm sure it's great. I just don't care about Dragon Ball. And so in Dragon Ball Z, I'm going to put it in C, because I think it's like the epitome of early 2000s shonen. Right, where it's just super drawn out battles with like transformations and constant power scaling and rescaling, and it's a power fantasy at the end of the day. And you know, from what I've heard, it really starts to drag out through like the Boo saga. And I don't know, the Cell saga is weird to me, like that whole concept. You know, it's clear that it's had a great cultural impact, and I think there's a reason for that. but I think when you compare it to a lot of other shows, like I think that a big reason why Dragon Ball Z has been so influential culturally is because there just wasn't a lot of shows to watch back then, or a lot of anime to watch back then, right? And Dragon Ball Z was like the power up martial arts fantasy anime to watch. But compared to other shows, I just don't think it's that good. Just my opinion. Death Note, S tier. Kind of controversial. I don't think the second part of Death Note is that bad. I know a lot of people don't like it, and sure, it's not as high of a quality, but I think that its focus was just different from what the first part is, right? Like, I guess I can just call it season 1, season 2. Like season 2 of Death Note, the focus is not on the mental battle between Kira and I guess Nier. It's more on like the descent of light and kind of like the human flaws, right? Like, because I think a lot of the first season was like, these two guys are essentially, quote unquote perfect in their thinking and their logic and their reasoning. And obviously they're flawed as people, but like their mental is, or whatever, is perfect. Whereas I think the season 2 focuses a lot more on those flaws. I just think it's interesting in that regard. But overall, a lot of people would say, if you just watch season 1 of Death Note, it's one of the best shows in general, but especially to try and get new people into Death Note. I think that's one of the big things that really is important to realize about Death Note, is that it doesn't have super crazy anime tropes that a lot of these other shows do, with like, the fan service crap, which I think is annoying, and the weird Japanese humor that sometimes exists. No hate against the Japanese humor, but some of it is weird and not really that funny, in my opinion, which we can talk about later when I get to some of these other series, one in particular that I am thinking of. But just it basically just seems like an adult cartoon, which at the end of the day is what it is. It's an animated show that is more mature in its themes and storytelling, and it's really stood the test of time. That's really all that I have to say about it. Just a great show. In a similar vein, Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood. I guess I could try to order these, but I don't feel like it. Yeah, I mean, Brotherhood is similar. It's a show that I think can really get new people into anime. Even though Brotherhood is a bit on the longer side, I think that the conciseness of the storytelling and the draw of the story and the characters and the action is just really great. I won't lie, it's been a while since I've seen the original series, so it's hard for me to remember exactly what the differences are. If I remember, they just cut out like a couple arcs from the original series to make Brotherhood. I could be wrong, but they definitely like things are definitely different between the two series, obviously, especially near the end. But I think even in the beginning and middle, there were some differences. But like, it's no secret that Brotherhood is one of the most beloved anime series of all time, right? My anime list is at the top for a long time. Whether or not it actually deserves to be there, probably not. But there's a reason why so many people love it and look back on it nostalgically. And, even when you get new people into it, it's still a series that they enjoy, right? It's like Death Note. It's not pure nostalgia that brings the anime quality up. It's like the anime actually has its own legs to stand on. And I don't think that should be understated. I think it's an S tier show, even if it's not perfect. Still really solid in my opinion. I've already been going for 14 minutes. Jeez. Okay. Let's try to speed this up. Fairy Tail. I don't like Fairy Tail. Listen, I watched another one of those old school shonen shows. I watched quite a bit. I watched until like the Wizard Promotion arc or whatever, where like they go to that island and then I think they meet the Dark Wizard guy there. I don't know, spoiler alert, I guess. I didn't end up finishing that arc, but that's around where I stopped. It's just a confusing mess, and based on things that I've heard, it doesn't end well, and like I think they made a sequel series It's also not very good. At least they made a sequel series in the manga. I don't know. It's another one of those like fan servicey power fantasy things that has like it's just meh. I think the concept is really cool. I actually really like the concept of fairy tale with like wizards and magic and dragons and wizard schools or whatever. Like I think that's super cool, but I just think the execution on it is just too anime. I think I'm an anime fan that doesn't like when stuff is too anime, because too anime is just like cringe, right? If you know, you know. If you don't know, you don't know. And that's fine. But Fairy Tail is just too anime for me to actually enjoy, I think. Gintama, I've never seen it, but I've heard really good things, right? I think it's supposed to be like a comedy shonen that parodies other anime. That's what one of my coworkers has said. He watches it and he likes it quite a bit. And I know a lot of people like it a lot. I know, a couple people that have seen it actually. One of them is Japanese, and apparently it's really good. I don't know. It seems like it's a really long show, so it's another one of those shows that like it's on my radar, like Black Clover, but just jumping in is hard because it's supposed to be really long. And from what I remember, the first like 100-ish episodes of Gintama are pretty bad. My guess is that's before it really embraced its parody comedy style. So we'll see. Haikyuu, I'm gonna put it in the never seen, even though I did watch I think the first episode, and I also watched like the volleyball coach reacts videos. I don't know if any of you have heard of those or have seen them. I don't know how many I ended up doing, but I watched like the first 4 or so episodes of that. And so I vaguely am familiar with Haikyuu. Obviously, I understand the concept. In general, sports anime have been something that I've avoided, but I think as time goes on, I'm trying to open myself up more to them because I think that I had a misunderstanding of what they were really about. I think that I can appreciate the concepts of the sports anime where it's about like, the teamwork and the drive and the passion and the work that you put into the competition. And I think that's something that's interesting. And there is a sports anime on here that I have actually seen. There's really only one more, so you probably know what it is. But Haikyuu's on my radar for sure. It just, again, 4 seasons. It's decently long for something that is not something that super interests me. Like, I just don't have a ton of interest in watching Haikyuu at the moment, but I'm sure if I started watching it, I'd probably binge it over the course of, a couple weeks. I just haven't seen it yet. Hunter x Hunter. Controversial. I'm gonna put it A. I like Hunter x Hunter a lot, right? I mean, I put it in A tier, and it's a manga that I want to read. I'd probably read it from the beginning just to get the full context of this series, because I do want to, read the more recent arcs past where the anime adapted. And even though it has amazing animation, soundtrack, characters, story, I just don't see it in the same regard as these other S tier shows. I don't know why. It's a great show, right? It really is, but I think maybe if I gave it a rewatch, I would like it more. It's been a long time since I've seen it, to be honest, and there were points in my life where I watched anime just so that I could watch anime, right? I wasn't necessarily taking it in, and I think that's one of the reasons why I have a hard time starting anime now is I really am invested in watching the show, like actually watching in and absorbing what the show is trying to say, and that's harder for these longer series. And so when I watched Hunter x Hunter, that wasn't really what I was doing. I was kind of just watching. I was like, this is a cool little action show. I think if I rewatched it, I might have a different perspective, and so maybe I would like it more. Same if I read the manga, I might like it more. I think that's, that's one of the reasons why I rate Bleach higher is because I read the manga, I think. It's still a great show, though. Another show that I think you can show to newer people, because it's not as anime as these other shows are sometimes. It's just a solid animation. Hajime. Dude, this series is so long, isn't it? Is Hajime still ongoing? I feel silly for asking that, but I'm pretty sure it's like an insanely long show. I haven't seen it. It's it's a classic, right? I mean, it's a classic boxing anime, and I think it's like the boxing anime, or boxing series, you know, aside from like Ashita Nojo. But yeah, Hajime, I'm sure it's good. I don't have any interest in watching it. I'm not gonna lie. I have no interest in watching it, so I'm probably not going to. But I'm sure it's good. I should probably stop talking about the shows I haven't seen because this is taking forever. JoJo. I'll go ahead and rate JoJo. Let's see. I have seen the first few episodes of part 1, and that's it. I think that the thing with JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is it's just not for everyone, which is normal, right? It's normal for a show not to be for everyone, but I think you really have to embrace its wackiness in order to enjoy it. And even though I haven't gotten to the later parts, which I think are probably supposed to be more enjoyed by people, I just can't bring myself to watch it, especially like, you know, seeing the clips or like shorts or, you know, whatever of the show and like understanding kind of like the general things that happen in the show. I just can't see myself enjoying it. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong and I would like it. It's on my radar. It's on my to watch list. But yeah, it's just not something that I care about too much. And especially like, I think part 7 is like just a reboot of the show or whatever. It's like, I don't care. Rurouni Kenshin. Ooh. I haven't seen it. I'm probably not going to watch it. It's supposed to be good, but if you know, you know. And at the end of the day, I've seen enough, you know, late 90s anime that I don't need to watch another generic shonen, to be honest. I'd rather just watch Samurai Champloo, which I haven't seen yet. Okay, Kuroko no Basket. A tier. This is the other sports show that I was talking about. I guess Hajime Ippo is kind of a sports show, maybe. I love Kuroko no Basket. It's the sports anime that made me rethink my taste in sports anime. Like, maybe I was actually missing out on something. It's just really hype and, you know, emotional, all that's very, like, I think it's a sports anime, and I think it really showed me what sports anime are actually about. And so for that reason, I'm rating it highly. But, you know, it just showed that you just don't have to take too seriously. Just watch it, enjoy it. It's cool. There's fun characters, character interactions. There's bromance, which is, of course, if you're going to make a sports anime with dudes in it, you got to have bromance. If you're going to make a sports anime with, you know, ladies in it, there's got to be girlmance. And if it's boys and ladies, keep it civil, okay? But yeah, Kuroko no Basket, it's great. I like it a lot. I basically rewatched it because whenever I like a show, I'll watch a reactor watch it to kind of get like a summarized version, to skim through it while I'm like doing something else to like relive the hype moments. And I've rewatched Kuroko no Basket probably like 2 or 3 times via that method. It's great. I love that show. My Hero Academia, I'm gonna put it in B. I actually like My Hero Academia. I know a lot of people that kind of like try to be hipster or like it's trash, and some are like it's great. It's not. It's fine. It's just a shonen anime at the end of the day. Like, it is the new age, like Naruto, Dragon Ball Z, whatever. It's a fine show. I actually really liked the newest season. I like the newest season the most of all the seasons except for season 1. Like, I think for me, all the seasons progressively get worse after season 1 until the newest season, which I think is my second favorite. I don't know, it's just a solid show. Like, yeah, it's anime X-Men, and that's fine. I don't care. That's cool, right? I want to watch characters with superpowers do stupid things. That's it. It's a fine show. Naruto. Okay, I've seen all of Naruto. I've seen part of Naruto Shippuden. Thing is, I don't actually like Naruto that much, but it's been so long I think I'm gonna put it in B because I think Chunin exam is just really, it's a really solid arc, right? And I think a lot of the complaints with Naruto are the filler arcs or filler episodes that don't really pertain to the original story. And so I honestly can't remember almost anything that happened to Naruto outside of like the few Chunin exam fights and like Orochimaru showing up and then Naruto and Sasuke fighting. And that's about it. But yeah, Naruto's an okay show. I don't like it that much, but I'm putting it in B for the sake of, you know, it helped to define anime for a while, and obviously the Chunin exam fights are classics, right? Like, there's a reason why people look so fondly on this series. It's not just nostalgia, I don't think. I think that there is some merit that it holds. Naruto Shippuden, on the other hand, I watched like 100 episodes, lost interest. I don't know, at that point, it's just another, like, show where they do magic stuff, and I think that Naruto Shippuden lost its core essence of what Naruto is supposed to be. I think a lot of people would agree with that. Not everybody cares, but, you know, if you understand, or like if you're familiar with kind of like how Naruto Shippuden ends compared to like what the messages are in the OG Naruto series, as well as, you know, all the criticism of Naruto. I don't know. If you like it, fair enough. I get it. I just care about Shippuden. Okay, 7 Deadly Sins. I watched season 1. I liked season 1, even though it had its flaws. Season 2 ruined the show for me. I think that it, like, you can't go from the ending of season 1 to the beginning of season 2 and tell me that it makes any sense at all, because the beginning of season 2 is basically, you remember what happened last season, which basically was 1 episode ago? Yeah, none of that was like really what happened, and like this is actually what happened, and it's like, that doesn't make sense. You just retconned the entire ending of your own show, and then all the flaws from season 1 are present in season 2 and then some. This is the show that I was talking about when I was talking about anime that is just too anime. The fan service and like the whole Meliodas thing and like Elizabeth is just, it's cringe, it's weird, it's not funny, it's not cute, it's just weird. Bon and Elaine, terrible. Diana getting like triple amnesia, stupid. Why is King like such a child? What are all these plot twists? They don't make sense. I haven't seen season 3, haven't seen season 4. I'm sure they're okay for like fights and animations, and I know there's like some plot twists. I'm familiar with some of them. Escanor is cool, I guess, but like, I don't know, once you see him once, like, I don't care anymore, right? It's like he's a cool concept character, but you can only do that so many times, right? Like, it's another one of those things where it feels like it's just too Japanese and too anime for me to enjoy, right? It's like, oh man, this guy is shy and meek, but then he turns into a Giga Chad in the sun, right? Like, he has cool moments, right? Who decided that? Amazing. How many times can you do that before it stops being interesting, right? In season 3, I didn't watch it. It ruined the show even more than season 2 did. I don't care about the show anymore. It's trash. Okay, moving on. Noragami, never seen it. I actually don't know much about this show. I know the main character is voiced by the same guy who voices Meliodas, actually, and Eren Yeager. I think it has something to do with demons and contracts and magic. But I haven't seen it, and it's on my radar, but I don't think I'm gonna watch it anytime soon, just because there's so many other shows that I care about more. And I barely know anything about it, to be honest. So, okay, One Piece. One Piece. It's better than Naruto. I'm gonna throw that out there, and I'm sure if I actually watched One Piece all the way through, or read the manga all the way through, I'd probably put it A or S tier. It's been so long though, and again, I was watching it in an era where I basically just watched anime to watch anime. I would literally wake up at 6 a.m., skip like the first 4 or 5 minutes to skip the recap, and just watch the episode. I was binge watching it like crazy. I don't remember hardly anything. And I don't think that the epic moments really stuck with me because I wasn't at an age or mental capacity, I guess, to really process the show that I was watching. And so I just can't say that I enjoyed it as much as I wish that I would have. I'm familiar with quite a few of the like newer plot developments. And so, like I said, I'm sure the show's great. This is no hate toward One Piece. I'm sure it's great. I know it's great. I just haven't seen it, so I can't rate it highly. One Punch Man. I liked season 1 a lot. I liked season 2 a lot. Not everybody likes season 2. A lot of people say season 2 is trash. It's not trash. Season 2 is fine, in my opinion. The animation maybe isn't all there, but I think the focus of season 2, again, is different from the focus of season 1, and the goals are different. I don't think season 1's goal was to tell the story of One Punch Man. It was to create this spectacle, which it accomplished fantastically. But for One Punch Man season 2, it was trying to tell the actual story of the Monster Association arc, which only, it did conclude in the manga, or the webcomic rather. It's not concluded in the manga, I don't think. But it's I would say that it is the first real arc of One Punch Man, right? I haven't read Mob Psycho, and I haven't seen season 3, and I don't know the story or the timelines between the two, but it definitely feels like One Punch Man started as just a passion project that just to do something cool, whereas Mob Psycho actually had a story that it wanted to tell. And I think that partway through One Punch Man, one decided, actually I think that I do want to tell a story in this world, and I think that's where the Monster Association arc comes in, and that's what season 2 is trying to accomplish, is tell that story. And I think it does a good job of doing that. So I like One Punch Man. It's good. Season 1 is great. You can show it to people. But season 2 is also good. I mean, Lizard, I think her name is. Peak character design. Katekyo Hitman Reborn. I know nothing about it. I think it's one of the classic shonen, but I legitimately I know nothing about it other than that it's a shonen. So that's all I got. I've only seen one episode of Soul Eater, and I had zero interest in continuing the show after watching it. It's probably not worse than Blue Exorcist, and I know a lot of people love Soul Eater. Some people say it's their favorite show of all time. I just watched episode 1, and it was boring. So that's all I got. Okay, Promised Neverland. Put it in B. I have not seen season 2. Just keep that in mind. I've also not read the manga. I've only seen season 1. I probably will try to read the manga at some point because I'm sure it's better. I know the manga is better than season 2. Although I will say, I think that I've heard some people don't really like the ending of the manga that much, so that does put me off a little bit, but it's at least on my list. As for season 1, I think part of my enjoyment was hampered by the fact that I knew what the plot twist was in season 1, or episode 1. It's why, in general, I have tried to avoid spoiling things for myself nowadays for shows that I actually have an interest in watching, because I think that kind of an effect can really impact your enjoyment, right? For example, Oshinoko. I haven't seen episode 1, but I know what the concept of it is, and I think that will hamper my enjoyment of that particular episode. The rest of the series, I'm sure it'll be fine. I'll enjoy it just as much as anybody else would, but I think that it just hits a lot differently, right? Whenever you know what's going to happen. And so maybe that hurt my enjoyment of Promised Neverland. I don't know. At the end of the day, whatever. The ending was kind of cool, but it's just it's just these freaking kids that just do cool stuff. It's like Death Note, but worse. That's my take. Last show. My god, I've been doing this for way longer than I thought I would. Yu Yu Hakusho. Never seen it, tier. I probably won't watch it. It's one of... What's the name? Toshinori? Maybe? The creator of Hunter x Hunter is the same creator as Yu Yu Hakusho. It's one of his earlier works before he worked on Hunter x Hunter. It's supposed to be really good. People like it a lot. But I don't know. I still haven't interested in watching it, really. I think that I've seen maybe episode 1 at some point, but I don't know. Again, it falls into the camp of those early, like 90s, 2000s. Maybe this show was made in the 80s. I feel like it was 90s, but it could be late 80s. It's just those, shonen shows that just went on for too long, and I just can't bring myself to watch them because they're long and drawn out. And also, like, did the anime even finish where the manga was? I feel like it may not have, but I could be wrong. Anyways, whatever. Long shonens, I just don't have a drive to watch them anymore. I know I said like Black Clover and Gintama might be on my radar. Realistically, I'm never gonna watch them. Okay, I'm just throwing that out there. I was trying to be civil at the beginning. All these shows that are never seen, I'm probably not going to watch. The only ones that I might have a chance of watching are Haikyuu and Noragami, because Noragami is like 20 episode series maybe. Actually, it might have 2 seasons. Anyways, those are the only 2 I really have a chance of watching. Aside from that, I don't know. This is my list. What do you guys think? I've gone on for way too long, I know. I apologize for that. But I had fun. I like talking about anime. I like anime a lot, even though I don't watch a ton of stuff. Like, I think that my watched list on my anime list is like under 100 series, even though I know about a lot of series. We're talking about it. It's fun. There are a lot of shows on here that are cool, a lot of shows that aren't cool, a lot of shows that I've seen that aren't on here that I would like to talk about at some point in time. There are other tier lists that I have bookmarked that are like top 100 anime, but I probably haven't even seen like 10 of them on there, so it'd be hard to do a tier list for. But yeah, overall, I would say that this is a pretty good list. I know I'm biased, but like Attack on Titan, Death Note, Fullmetal Alchemist, I think are straight up classics that like you should watch if you like anime. Attack on Titan especially is one of the best shows I've ever seen. It's easily in my top 3 anime. And these down here, avoid them if possible. These, watch them if you really like them. That's it. But also, like, at the end of the day, this is also my personal list. Some people love Soul Eater, Fairy Tail, Seven Deadly Sins. You like what you like, you got your own taste. I've got my own taste. I'm sure there are people that don't like Attack on Titan, Fullmetal Alchemist, or Death Note, and some of them might have a small fragment of a valid reason. Yeah. Okay. I've talked for long enough. I like to ramble. You know this if you've watched any of my other videos. I'm long-winded. So that's going to be it for me for today's episode. Thank you all for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Hope you have a good day, good night, wherever you are in the world. And I hope to see you next time for another Tier List Tuesday, where I'm going to talk about something else, which will probably bring some level of controversy or controversial opinion from me, as, you know, all tier lists probably should, since I think most people have some hot take that deviates from the norm. Otherwise, they are a cringer normie, and we don't like them. Okay, that's gonna be it for me. Bye-bye.